All right, it is 6 o'clock, so I am going to officially call this meeting to order. Thank you all for coming to the first meeting of this new year. And I would like to have us all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I'm going to have our students lead us in that. So whenever you're ready, just start it off. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And I did not get a message from Sandy, so maybe she will be joining us late. I don't think we have her coming in by Zoom. But we'll just get started. Have you all had a chance to take a look at the agenda? There haven't been any changes or additions. So if there's a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept the agenda.
And I'll second it.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to adopt the agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say no. Hearing none, the agenda has been adopted. Now we'll start with the superintendent's report.
Great. Thank you, Board President Davidson, other board directors, obviously our student leaders here, staff, and community. I will start off with, it's January, so we come back from the break. It's gone very well. Each of our schools have gone through the expectations, whether that's in the classroom or the common spaces, something that we really had coordinated across each school, and having staff do that with them. It's really key, a couple weeks off. Sometimes you just kind of need a little reminder about how do things operate so that we can all work, again, in a safe and welcoming environment for our students. It really does help us cut down on some of the smaller incidences, which can sometimes lead to larger incidences. So that's gone well, and that'll hopefully continue to contribute to our decreasing in disciplinary actions, which we've experienced here over the last couple of months. And then also, I was out in classrooms last week. I was at Bordeaux, actually, which is going to be presenting. It was really nice. Got around to classrooms twice in one day. And that's not usually too usual, but for scheduling purposes to try to see different grade levels. And one thing that definitely caught my eye, and as well as some of the other administrators, was just team teaching. So when teachers team teach, you can see that they're teaching, borrowing some different strategies. They had the same teaching points across the classroom's target skills, and had coordinated that. And then they were also, as I was mentioning, they were explicitly teaching some of the expectations together. They had a video all for the whole school, and that was specific to Bordeaux. So it was really cool to see everybody coordinated on the skills, so that students at different grade levels were getting the same content and some of the same target skills, which is really nice, because if you get too far away, sometimes students can miss some of the key skills and strategies that we need to get them per the learning standards by the state. So that was great. A lot of work. We have an upcoming half-day release for staff, so we have a lot of professional development plan. We'll be going over specifically unit and lesson development, how to construct the beginning of a lesson. So we call it a mini lesson, so that it's decreasing the amount of teacher teaching time, and really does do a gradual release back to the students. I know one of the feedbacks we had from the strategic plan was not wanting adults to continue to talk for the whole entire period. So that was not kind of cuts down sometimes on the engagement. So we'll be going over that. So that's really exciting. And and then we'll also talk about, as I was mentioning, engagement strategies. So anywhere from what's the entry task to how do you organize your classroom so that staff can make those connections, as well as celebrations. Celebrations are really critical, something that they don't teach you a whole lot in teacher prep programs, but they are really something important for you to do with your students. So lots of good things coming up this Friday with our teachers. Two more items. One is we have a replacement levy out there. It will be, ballots are going out next week. So look for those coming out about our replacement levy. This replacement levy specifically helps fund nurses, counselors, special education teachers, security personnel, as well as helping us with our maintenance. Without that, it does obviously would impact the operation of the district. It's 11% of our overall operating budget for the district, it is at the rate of $2.09 per every $1,000 assessed value. That is actually less than was on the ballot last time on the current particular levy. So we're looking to go back to our very gracious community members at a rate that's lower than was posted last time. Last item, no surprises. We are looking for bus drivers. If you are interested in being a bus driver for the Shelton School District, we really would love to have you part-time, anything. We can figure out a schedule. If you just simply call the front office, any number, we will try to direct you to the powers to be to give you more information. We do train folks, so we will help paid training, get them on board, any way to make it work. And again, like I said, flexible schedules. I'm obviously going to work within the hours of school districts or activities that we hold. So that's very nice. Miriam Knight, I would like to just say thank you. They've been helping us with some of our activities buses for both after-school activities as well as athletics and helping us. So that's been very nice as we've been just continuing to be hammered with a shortage of bus drivers. Very unfortunate. Continue to try to recruit. We got a flyer out there. I don't know how many 5,000 flyers were sent out in the community. If you've received one, take a look. Again, give us a call if you're interested. So with that, I just thank you very much, and I'll hand it back over to you, Board President Davidson.
Thank you for your report. Next up is community comments, and at this time, I was given a sheet that does not have anyone signed up. If there's anyone that didn't get an opportunity, you're welcome to do that now. Did we have anyone dial in? We have not. Okay. Well, if we do not have community comments, we will just continue on with the agenda. So next up is reports and recognition, and we always do start with 5.01, which is the report from our student school board representative. And I'm going to start just going down the line. So Nieves Villa for Choice High School, if you could give us your report.
Today we had some friends from Olympic College and Western Washington University join us to talk about some opportunities information for our students looking into college. On Thursday, students who received academic awards from our monthly award ceremonies that we hold will be heading down to the Shelton cinemas to enjoy their movie award. We are also looking forward next month to our field trip to the Skokomish fish hatcheries, where our students will get to experience some of the same environmental curriculum that they're learning inside of their classrooms. So a lot of the kiddos are super excited because they've been working on, I know that some of you have heard about our statewide and nationwide issue about the Snake River dams and whether we should tear those down to save some of our fish. And some of the kiddos from science are working on whether they believe that what action we should take towards that. So it's really exciting to get to bring them out into the field and explore some of that information on their own. And that is it.
All right, that's great. Thank you so much. And then Angela Ramirez Herrera for Cedar High School.
Hi. So since this is a new year, we did start out with the portables, which all the teachers are super excited about having their own classroom and space. And we also just got in, yesterday, we got in our merchandise. We got our sweaters and t-shirts and some beanies, which we are starting to sell on Tuesdays and Fridays during lunch. And this is what we call our seminar week, which we check in with all of the grades and visit different opportunities for college investments and like banking accounts and just things you need in life. And we also, since it's a new year, we also are getting a new counselor and new teacher, which since we are a small school, everybody is like super excited about what we can get. Our counselor is always getting, we talk to her like every single day. So having another counselor is just super excited for us.
That's great, thank you. So that's an additional counselor that wasn't there before, is that?
It's a counselor intern.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't realize that. Thank you for letting us know that. All right, Richard Beckman for Shelton High School.
Good evening. So, from Shelton High School, our athletics have been doing really well. Most notably, the boys wrestling team. I think they went to, I believe it was an invitational or maybe it was some kind of cool competition. And they got first as a team, and a few got first as individuals. So, go Climbers. Also, the last year the play was received really well. The put on by the, I think it's Thespians, or the theater, there we go. Theater, they're doing another play coming up. I think it's in early February, so stay tuned for that. It is a zombie / end of the world comedy. Yeah, there we go. And students and families in the community, enrollment for Shelton High School is starting. So yes, it's like halfway through the school year, but we do start it that early. So go ahead and just be aware of that and get on top of that. And I know that a few weeks ago, there was a student here that talked about the push to get Native American music to play during passing periods. And today was actually the first day that got to happen. So that's really good to hear. Took a while, but we finally got it. And yeah, to reiterate some student concerns voiced at not this ASB meeting, but the one before that, during a majority of the school day, the gate to leave campus is closed, which means that in order to leave, you have to go out the wrong way on a one-way street. And like, this is normally good during the day, or it normally works out because there isn't much traffic. But what this does is it creates a pattern so that like when school gets out, people are so familiar with going out the wrong way on a one-way that it's just like happening, and then it becomes like a two-way street. And so I would urge the administration to maybe look into an alternative to having the gate closed, because that just creates some traffic. But yeah, that's all from Shelton High School.
All right, thank you all for your reports and for sharing some of those concerns. We appreciate hearing everything that's going on at the schools. All right, so now we're going to be up to 5.02, which is Bordeaux Elementary School's School Improvement Plan. And that is with Principal Kyle O'Neill and Marianne Marshall.
Hi, good evening. I also brought with me Amy Butel, who is my new assistant principal. So she's going to help share some of the presentation. So what we're hoping to do with our presentation, just show you a little bit of the story of Bordeaux and what we're trying to accomplish this year. So as you guys know, one of our major focuses this year is around literacy, incorporating the balanced literacy into our systems. And so our first goal is focused on our third graders. Last year, just with everything going on and students kind of coming back into the buildings, but still very much in the middle of this pandemic, our scores were at 28.7% in reading in third grade, and we're hoping to increase that by 20% for this spring, and this is measured on the Smarter Balance, up to 48.7, so about 50%, which is a pretty big increase, but hopefully to kind of do that incrementally now that we're back in a regular system and having the kids back full time. So some of the strategies we're going to be using, we are using the REACH foundational curriculum. That was the curriculum that was being used the past few years in our reading. And so that is mainly on like word skills, phonics, phonemic awareness, and vocabulary. But then we're also using as part of the balanced literacy. And one of those pieces is the conferring. And so when independent reading, like when I was going to school, when I started teaching, when it was independent reading time, students just went out and they grabbed their book and they read silently. Sometimes we called it SSR, silent reading, or DEAR, drop everything and read. Well, conferring is now taking that where instead of a student just sitting there reading, they may be reading, but then the teacher is going around and asking very specific questions to the students to kind of gauge their level of comprehension on those independent books. So it's very self-guided for the kids from kindergarten all the way through fourth grade, but also very also directed by the teacher through those questionings. For our systems and structures, our PLCs, which is our grade level teams, meet every 2 weeks. That's almost every 2 weeks. That's our early release Wednesdays. We're incorporating the balanced literacy systems and structures into our literacy block, which is including whole group, small group, and individualized instruction. If you want to go ahead to the next slide, please. So these are some pictures. This is what I was talking about with the independent reading for a lot of these. So you can see kind of in that middle, little curly-headed blonde boy, that's one of our kinder friends, and he is working on stamina, so he's working on his independent reading. And so what we're working on with our kinders is that even though they may not be able to read a book, to just sit there and be able to look at a book for a sustained period of time. So right now they're up to about 6 minutes. Some of them can start to read the words and look for those sight words. And then you can see kind of kitty quarter to him is a first grader who's looking at him. And then some of the other pictures up there, the students sitting in circles, I tried to focus on our third graders who are a little bit higher level reading. And you can see some of the mini lessons where the teacher's leading a circle, or Miss Chapin's up there in the far left corner teaching a mini lesson to her kids, and even in the third grade trying to get them on the carpet so they're right in front of the teacher. And then some of them just in there, you can see the one that's a little purplish. That's in a Mrs. Attick's classroom, third grade, and they're just in her classroom library. If you go to the next slide, please. And these are some more of the independent reading, but I also wanted to highlight some of these smiling faces. So we've got a kinder in the middle there, and then we've got some first graders over here, and what they're holding is their book bags. And within those book bags, part of the classroom libraries that the district is able to purchase, the students are taking those books home, and they're going back and forth from home. And again, those are not from like our overall school library. The school libraries, they can go in there and choose any book they want, nonfiction, fiction, it's just to have kind of fun and access the library. These ones are more geared, we call them good fit books, and so they're books that those students should be able to read independently, take home, share with their families, and you can see those faces. I went in to take one picture, and suddenly I had every kid holding up their book bag, ready to show me these books, and we're so excited to take them home. And I think it's really cool, especially in that kindergarten, first grade level, to be taking those books home and sharing them with their families, and it creates that connection between home and school. The top right, we're also moving into more teacher-created materials, so that's what we call an anchor chart. So they're up on the walls, the teachers are creating that, that's author's purpose. So they'll be creating that as they're teaching the lesson, and so the students are either writing that down for the third and fourth graders, or they're participating in that creation through the back and forth communication. If you go on the next slide, please. And then this is just a picture of some of our classroom libraries. So these are what the district would purchase for us, between 300 and 500 books in each classroom. And this is a different setup. So this is showing third and fourth grade. Again, easy access. The books are clearly labeled. Kids can get to the books very easily. They can select their good fit books. You can see in that bottom left-hand corner, just creating that warm, welcoming environment. They've got a nice carpet, some pillows, and so students can go in there and just have a nice place to sit down and read throughout the day, whether that's directed by the teacher or just when they have some free time. So when they have free time, instead of just having downtime where they're not really doing anything, they should always be accessing the books, and that's a big part of it, is just they have access to the books, and that's been a huge piece. So I'm going to have Ms. Butel talk about our attendance and what she's doing to continue to improve our attendance.
Thanks for having us tonight. If we could go to the next slide. And the second part of our school improvement plan, our goal is by June of 2023, Bordeaux Elementary will decrease the average days absent for all students from 26.6 to less than 18 days. Our strategies that we're utilizing, staff will utilize the 5 positives to 1 corrective strategy to build positive relationship with students. And I would invite you, please come and visit our school. You will feel the warm welcome when you come in, and we're going to see some pictures of that here pretty soon. Staff will know their students by strength, story, and the need to ensure that all students have a positive connection with at least one adult. And the teachers will acknowledge whole class success with big pause for 96% or higher attendance rate in a day. And I'll show you a picture of that here shortly. Systems and structure. Students will be greeted warmly by adults as they enter the building from the bus, also while entering for breakfast, or by the parent drop-off. Each location is assigned to specific staff members. And as needed, I will create individual reward and acknowledgement system with students to support consecutive days of attendance. So let's take a look at some pictures of how we do that. It starts over here on the upper left, right-hand side. That is Hebron, and he greets the students every day. It's very impressive. He knows each student's name. So it's not just good morning, welcome, it's by name. He is bilingual, so he can communicate with all parents, which is especially important for our Spanish-speaking parents to let them know, hey, today's a half day, today's early release, and good morning, move up here, and it's really impressive. So it starts with Hebron. The next picture up here in the top left-hand corner is, of course, Mr. O'Neill, our school nurse, Julia, and Janessa, one of the school secretaries. She takes turns with our other secretary, Jessie. They are there for at least 30 minutes every day greeting students. So those are the first two. Then they direct them to go up the hall. There are some of our specialists standing up here who you'll see in the next pictures. And those students know exactly where to go. They go to breakfast or recess. Then when the bell rings, they come back, and when you walk back in the hall, you see those teachers standing outside of the doorway, and they are greeting their students. So they're building that relationship. Well, it's built. That students are hearing their names. One big hurdle that we can't help students with is if they're sick, if their parents can't get them to school, if the bus is out. So what we can do is create this warm and welcoming environment so they want to come to school. In the bottom right-hand side, you see our breakfast room. So Miss Melanie is there. Miss Lisa, our lunch lady, is there helping the students. On the top, you hear Wyatt talk about celebrate, celebrate, celebrate. So that's what we do. We celebrate attendance. There's the percentages by grades, and you'll hear students talking about it. Oh, man, third grade beat us last week, And also there in the middle is the activities that we have for students. And so they know that they are student athletes, which means that they're students first. They need to come to school. They are involved in soccer, volleyball, right now is basketball, and then track and field. So that's another incentive to get them to school. And then in the bottom left side is Mrs. Thornton's kindergarten class holding up a big paw that they've earned for that day due to their 96% or better attendance. Okay, next slide. And some more ways we celebrate attendance. In the far right side is our amazing group of specialists, and they even made a Christmas card for us. So that's our librarian, PE, music, art, and STEM teachers. So they've created, they put together assemblies every month where they go over the expectations. They are in the hallways or in different areas in the morning and in the afternoon, again, building those relationships with students, being part of that warm welcome. There's Buddy the Bulldog, married to somebody here in this room. And so he goes in and he has delivered some pizzas because they chose that as their incentive. And they earn those big paws, again, based on attendance and meeting expectations. In the upper left-hand corner is John, who's our amazing discipline para. He's working with a student who's on a check-in, check-out. And so, again, it's an incentive for those students to be there, to stay on track, to follow the expectations. And so he checks in with them every morning, and throughout the day they get given numbers on how they're doing, and then he does a check out with them. And so again, another incentive. In the bottom left-hand corner, that is Lunch Bunch. So teachers and myself, we celebrate with the students. I have Lunch Bunch with students on Fridays. The teachers do it once a week or once a month with their students based on attendance. So great ways to celebrate. And again, there's Miss Melanie up there in the top with the student. Those students know that they have an adult that they can go to and that they can feel comfortable with if they have issues, if they want to celebrate, if they need help. And then there in the middle is our Celebrate Reading Minute. So lots of different ways that we celebrate.
All right, so the next few slides is just, again, kind of our story in pictures. And I won't go through each individual one, but essentially what I was trying to encapsulate is just that obviously school, super important, very serious business, but we do like to have fun as much as we can. And I do feel like it creates that warm and welcoming environment. And when students are at our building, having fun, feel welcomed, feel loved, cared for, and safe. That's going to be a benefit to them, and a byproduct of that will be, of course, our scores going up. And that is a super important piece, and we all fully understand that. But there's another side to it as well, and they definitely work in conjunction with each other. We're also trying very, very hard. You can see Ms. Butel and our PTSO president, Ms. Hoosier, about popcorn. We're trying to bring the families back into the building. Now they're a little more open, and so we're definitely working hard on doing some outside of school activities where families are coming in so they can see what we're doing. I have a very supportive community at Bordeaux. Feel very fortunate to have that parent community, and so we want to create that system where they feel welcomed as well. And then you can just see some of the different things that we have done and encapsulated in some of the smiles. So if you can just go to the next slide, please. And again, just here's a few more. Ms. Butel talked about some of the specialists. So you can see actually 3 of them down there, Mr. Nemi, Mr. McNeil, and Mr. Hill in the background welcoming kids. You have Mrs. Rhodes, kindergarten teacher, out there in the rain with her students. I'm up there giving a pencil out of a drawing. Hat Day, we brought in one of our local police officers to help teach some of the second graders what he does. Go ahead on the next slide, please. And then this is just finally just some of the smiling faces that we've had, this year in our different events, bringing in community members. Ms. Chavez down there in the center doing an arts and crafts at one of our holiday-themed events. We had an assembly, and you can see all the kids wearing PJs. Miss Addix in the top right-hand corner, again, in the after-school activity. So the whole point, again, is just bringing in the families, bringing in the communities, starting to open up the doors a little bit more, and really building that partnership with our Bordeaux community and the Shelton community as a whole, because they're definitely an integral part of our success. So hopefully that shows you a little bit of what we're all about at Bordeaux and shares our story a little bit. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask.
I do have a few questions. First of all, I'd like to say thank you for hosting me back a month or 2 ago. It was a pleasure to walk through your building with you. And I just wanted to go back to talk about the reading goals. Just curious about a couple of things that I observed there. What are your teachers experiencing for obstacles for the literacy plan? I mean, it's a change in teaching mode, so I'd like to hear what kind of obstacles you've found.
Yeah, definitely. I think overall, like with any new system that you bring in, there's definitely some questions and there's some stress and anxiety because it's new and it is different. But there's lots of very good components to it. One of the things they're very excited about is the access to the books and the classroom libraries. And so I think that's what we're trying to build on. At my school in particular, I don't want to speak for all the other schools, but my school in particular, they do like to know what's coming, and they like to be very prepared.
Yeah.
And so to be able to just kind of jump in at something has been hard for them. And so that's something we worked on a lot, and Mr. Jesse has really communicated that as administrators, and we've tried to communicate that to the teachers, is it's going to be messy. We're going to make mistakes, and that's okay. And I think that's been a big barrier just because personality-wise, that's very hard for some people. So I don't feel like they're necessarily, opposed to what we're doing or, really finding struggles with the concepts of what we're doing, because really having mini lessons, having small groups, having independent reading, those pieces to it have been in any part of curriculum. You do a whole group lesson, you do some small groups, and you do independent reading. Exactly what that looks like might be a little bit different. But I just think that idea of that we are kind of walking into this all together, and I've told them many times, like I'm learning right along with them. So I'm learning how to be an instructional leader in balanced literacy because I'm learning balanced literacy as well. And so that's been a little bit of a challenge. But I think overall, as we move forward and realize we've got this 5-year plan, we're in year 1, and really we're like in month 4 of our 5-year plan. And so just that's kind of been my message I've been trying to reiterate to them is that it's okay. Like we're not expecting perfection. We're not expecting that it's going to look nice and neat. And even, we made a change in one of our meetings with Mary Ann and Wyeth and Adrian as we were talking, and they kind of gave the permission of, if you need to, kind of change your master schedule up a little bit. And that's kind of an unheard of thing, and we did that in October, and we made some changes to our master schedule. So I think that idea, too, that it's okay to adjust as we go is been helpful. And so I feel like we're making progress and we're getting there. January is a tough month, and forever. I've done education for 23 years. January is always a hard month. March is going to be hard too, but I think if we just keep moving forward and keep positive, we'll get there. And then keep reiterating those messages, like we're going to stumble, and it's going to get messy, and we're kind of building it as we fly, building the plane as we fly, that old, proverbial message, but, we're getting there.
That's a great reassuring message
Yeah.
to just keep moving forward.
Yeah, keep moving forward.
Another thing is, how are you addressing the ELL students with the new model?
That's a good question. So one of the things we've tried to do is we have tried to be very strategic in our hiring. Mr. Hebron, he's in his second year. He is bilingual. We were actually able to bring on another para just recently that is also bilingual, a young girl by the name of America Zaranda, who's a local Shelton product. And so trying to bring on people who do have those qualities. Obviously, we're looking for other qualities as well, so it's a little bit of a bonus. So we're trying to be strategic in our hiring. Lee Dunigan, who's our EL teacher, she is pushing into the classrooms a little bit more than she's done in the past. So previously, she would pull out small groups, and it wasn't very effective. The data didn't show that it was working. So we're trying to have her go into the classroom. Huge learning curve for her. So again, that's another kind of mind shift and trying to support her as much as possible. And that's where one of the adjustments has come, is we were having her push in during the literacy block and realizing that it wasn't super successful, and so she wasn't quite meeting the needs of her students, so we made some adjustments. And so now she's pushing in on some of the reading blocks and able to support those students in reading. And then with our scheduling, what I tried to do is to match her up. So if she is going into a classroom, Mr. Hebron might be going into another classroom because he's bilingual and he can serve a different role, but he can also help those students. I have 2 bilingual first grade teachers, and so they can kind of handle their students in that framework. I've got a second grade teacher, Mrs. Osorio, who just has a very strong skill set in working with our EL population. One of our kindergarten teachers is majoring for her master's in supporting EL students. So we're just trying to find pockets of success, and then we can strategically place students in those areas so that if Lee can't get to them, Ms. Dunigan can't get to them, they have other support staff or other teachers that are able to support their needs.
Yeah, that's a wonderful plan. Another thing I heard from teachers while visiting is, what am I going to do with all these anchor charts? There's not enough room in my classroom. Have you come up with a clever solution to that?
I won't say it's clever. It's been kind of, in all honesty, kind of an odd thing. They just were kind of seeking permission to get rid of them. So one of my teachers, Mrs. Strickland, who's been there 40-some years, fantastic. She is a prime example of somebody who has been around for a long, long time, but has fully kind of jumped into this whole idea. She's probably seen it all in education. For 40-some years, you've kind of seen it, done it all. She's really jumped in, and she had that question. She said, I've got all these anchor charts all over my room. Can I take them down? It's like, yeah, just, remove the ones you don't need. But sometimes I think we forget that they really want to do what's expected, just like kids. They want to do what they're supposed to do. They want to do what their bosses are asking them to do, and they want to do what's expected. And so sometimes they do need kind of that permission, like, yeah, you can adjust and do what you need to do as a teacher. So, yeah, not super clever, but I think just granting that permission that, you can go ahead and just peel them right off and put them away if you're not going to use them.
Yeah, I thought maybe you set up some kind of string system where they
Right,
could pull them in and out,
Yeah.
but apparently just the old-fashioned, when you
Just
don't
the
need
old-
them, don't use them.
Exactly.
Well, thank you for answering
Yeah.
my
Oh,
questions.
anytime. Thank you for the questions.
I don't have any questions, but I liked a few of the things that I saw. You had the pictures of the kids just kind of all piled around in the books and everything like that, and then the very next picture was all the books put away. So obviously the kids are taking care of their tools and being respectful, and you're going to make 100,000 dads with toolboxes very happy later. I really like that you're working on the endurance. Today's society, everybody, every 30 seconds you're changing jobs, you're doing something, you're going somewhere else. And to be able to just sit down and read, it's huge. When I coached people on running like marathons and stuff, getting them to run a half hour is far more important than getting them to run 5 miles. You know, you've just got to be able to have that. And the fact that you know the strength and the story of each kid, it's one thing to know that all these kids need wraparound services. Everybody does. Everybody's got something. But if you know what their story is and what those are, what those services are going to be down the road, that's great. But you also know their strengths. So you have something to build off on every one of these kids. And it looks outstanding. And I'm dying to see how this all plays out, you know, as we go forward. And I will take you up on your invitation and be there and probably bother you a lot.
Anytime, come on
If you
down.
come Friday, we might be having a tailgate.
Okay.
Celebrate the Seahawks, maybe.
All right.
So just, or school.
Yeah.
So Friday's the day.
Yeah.
I don't know if my Yeah, I don't have that much more to add. I just want to say thank you very much for coming in and presenting. It was nice to meet you too. I love all of the pictures. I think one of my favorite things that you both kept saying repeatedly that is not a simple thing, but I think sometimes sounds simple, is that warm, welcoming environment. I know that as an adult, when I walk into a place, wherever it is, if it's not warm and welcoming, you shrink and you may be looking for a way to get out of there and you don't feel comfortable. So to know that there's multiple strategies for welcoming kids, you know, not just the teachers themselves, but, you know, all of throughout the whole school, ways of doing that and reaching those kids is so critical in the beginning. And I really do like the classroom libraries. It sounds like those are going over well to have just a variety of books and that are right there accessible. Sounds like that is working out really well. I'm, you know, really excited just to see how this does build as we go. I'm happy to hear that you're supporting. Bordeaux's always had a great culture and a strong, you know, identity as a school. They've got wonderful teachers there, but to know too that they can make mistakes. You are growing and learning. There's room for that. It doesn't have to be perfection, as, you know, as we move forward in this and we, you know, continue to try to do the best we can for the students there. So I appreciated the presentation. Thank you both very much for coming, and maybe we'll stop by Friday for the tailgate.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Or I'll give it back to you when you need it. Next up is the consent agenda, and this just has our usual things on it. It's got our meeting minutes from the previous meeting and a number of different warrants. Is there a motion for this?
I would move to approve the consent agenda.
And I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Hearing none, the consent agenda has passed. This evening, we do not have any discussion and action items. We've got a short agenda this meeting. So next up is board member comments. And if it's all right, Carla, I'll start with you.
Okay. I really appreciate our high school students tonight. Each of your presentations were very interesting and thought out, so thank you again for participating. And it was great to hear from the Bordeaux staff. And I guess I don't really have any other issues except that I'm glad that we have some positive things going.
All right, Director Wielander.
Really looking forward to hearing back on the Snake River stuff, since we have a similar, although much smaller scale situation here with the Skokomish River and the Lake Cushman Power Project. I will be looking for a cedar hat at some point. And I also have had the same problem in the Shelton High School parking lot. I've gotten in there and couldn't get out, turned around, had to go the wrong way, felt bad. I was in my work car, so it looked extra bad. But otherwise, I'm going to steal somebody's thunder, I'm sure. There's a book vending machine out front. It is the first vending machine that I've been excited about since the middle school Apple machine. And if you know what I'm talking about, you're as old as I am. Otherwise, I don't have anything. It was good to have a nice break over the wintertime, and hope everybody's doing well and had a great New Year.
And I will keep mine fairly short as well, too. I had a busy week last week. We had a break in our family's busy schedule, and we had the opportunity to go to Shelton High School's basketball game and watch a good friend of ours, or their son, play. That was a lot of fun. It was well attended. They won, so that was exciting. And then also on Thursday, we were able to attend the wrestling match. And I was telling the superintendent when I spoke to him on Monday, when I was in high school at Shelton, they did not have girl wrestlers. And there were so many of them. And I was getting teary-eyed watching because it was just like the best show of girl power I have seen. It was just, it was really exciting to watch. And then the boys wrestling team came out. They were fantastic too. I mean, just the effort and the strength that was shown by both the girls and the boys was really exciting to watch, and it was a lot of fun to go take part in that. On Wednesday, I happened to make, and Matt was at that too, the levy meeting. So there's so many community members that are involved in, putting out signs and writing letters and getting connected with different businesses to just, have that connection with our school and the support for our school. So that was great to see. We do have an open board position, and applications are out on our website right now for that open spot that was vacated by Director Best with his passing. So the applications for that do close on January 25th, and we'll be looking at doing interviews shortly after that to fill that position. So if you know anybody that's interested or who lives in Director District 2, it is bound by that district. But that's all that I have this evening. We don't have any reason for an exempt or executive session. So if there's a motion for adjournment, I will take that.
I'll make a motion for adjournment.
I know you paid it.
I'll second it.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Hearing none, we are adjourned. If board members can stick around for the signing of the documents, please.